Yeah, I'm waiting for it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you tonight? In the bottom left-hand corner, you will see the legend himself, Mr. Johan Van Noordwyk from Lung Candy. Just want to do a little bit of a test quickly on sound. Guys, if you can just tell me if when Johan talks, if there's any feedback or echoing coming from him.
Yeah, perfect. Good evening, guys. Great to be here. Big Guy, thank you very much for having me on the show tonight.
That's my pleasure, buddy. Can you guys just tell me if you've got any echoing coming from our side, so I can just get going with the show? Doesn't look like there's any. Yeah, it takes a while. No echoes. Ah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Oh, that's
Obviously,
good.
Marks are set up perfectly. Well, I was hoping to have a whole lot of things here, but unfortunately our darling government hasn't allowed me to have anything here today. Just a little bit of feedback first on the previous shows on stuff. These Bravo and the Blitzens are selling like absolute hotcakes, and everybody who listened to me regarding the tanks are totally over the moon. So grab a Bravo or a Blitzen from your local vape shop. If they don't have, we've got, so you can always come and get them from us or online. Also, I've got something that arrived, which I've got one to give away. I'm going to do a video on it. Is the little Nudge 22. I've got it on my white Monarch, and I'm absolutely loving it. The thing that I'm really enjoying about this is this bloody oversized drip tip. It's massive. It's like almost 1.5 times the size of a goon tip. So it's really big. I like those really big chunky tips. So yeah, I'm going to watch out for the review on the Nudge 22. Absolutely epic little RDA, single coil, and it's actually got those who have had Serpent SMM, which was the RTA. It's actually got the same deck as the Serpent SMM, which is quite lacquer. But I'll get into that a little bit later. I want to say some how's it to some people. Brandon was obviously at Sparrow's Fart, waiting to watch the show. Bra, my little mini-me, DJ, Vico, Hardness, Luke, Ryan, Siraj, the Vaping Brew, Luke, Ronaldo. Yeah, Ronaldo, you won the Bravo. How are you enjoying it, bud? Let's see how else. That seems to be everybody at the moment. Rudy, Gerrit, and Ryan van Rooyen. Okay, so I've got Johan from Lung Candy, a legend, Mr. I call him Mr. Mech Man. If I've ever got a problem with a custom in Joburg has got a mech problem, I send him to Johan, because he's a fundi with the mechs. Just for starting the show quickly, I have got some whole lot of little goodies to give away tonight. I've got a Watofo cap, because obviously we're busy. We are now getting Watofo products to review, which is lacquer, so they gave me a cap to give away. I've also got an Asmodus t-shirt in large, and then I got some Mr. Fluff cotton to give away. So that's what I've got to give away. And the word that you must type somewhere in the course of the evening is Lung Candy. So Lung Candy, one word, then you'll be eligible for the prize. So Mr. Van Noordwyk, why did you cut all your hair off?
Spontaneous decision on Monday. Yeah, it's just like time to freshen a couple of things up. Not just me, but brand wise, and like we'll get into all of this during the course of tonight. But yeah, I see T-Vapes is requesting that old favorite of mine. Let's see if I can still do it. What's up, Flavor Chasers? Let's see. Yeah, that was that was from back in the day.
Sure, that was quite a while ago, that, but
yeah, that was a couple of years back.
Okay, so just on, let's go. Obviously, you know, I ask a whole lot of questions from whoever I've got on the show tonight. So, how long have you been vaping, and what reasons did you start vaping?
We're closing in on 3 years now. Let's see, 2014 went in for a back operation. I completely blew out the disc between L4 and L5 vertebra. And everybody said to me, listen, if you're going to smoke, at least just switch to a vape or something, because your the effects of anesthetics on your system, the recovery period, all of this gets slowed down by regular tobaccos. And so I tried out one of the little Ganga EVODs, the old CE4 styles, and it worked. It got me off cigarettes. It was great. But back then, shops were few and far between, so it was quite a trek to get to the shop and get spares for it if a coil burnt out, or in my case, I sat on the thing and I broke the tank. So it was back on cigarettes again for a couple of months. And then along came 2015. Well, actually, I was back on cigarettes for about a year again. And started working for a company. Some of the guys, they were twisting away and all that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me pull this thing out of the drawer again. Let's have a look at it. Let's get it back up and running. Got to a local shop close to me. Got new tanks and juice and everything for it, and it was perfectly fine. I was completely off cigarettes from the first day. At that point, I was smoking 40 plus a day, which that was hurting me a lot. Not just financially, but physically as well. I was sick all the time. It was horrible. But
yeah, that's the one thing that I have to say. I've said to many people prior to me quitting, and obviously I've been a lot longer than the average person off the stinkies, is that I used to get flu 3-4 times a year.
Sure.
And pneumonia at least once a year, or bronchitis or something like that. And I think I've had flu 4 or 5 times in 8 and a bit years. That's how many times I've had it. So it's massive. Obviously, health-wise, it's a hell of a lot better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Hugo Ross. Hello. Mr. Hugo Ross is watching for a change. Yeah, he's a lazy shit. He doesn't watch the show. Yeah. Okay. Another quick question. I'll ask everybody the same questions. So let me get those ones out the way. If you were stuck on a deserted island and you were only allowed to take one mod with you, what is it and why would you take it with you?
Oh, it's one of the two on the desk in front of me. Stuck on it. What's my supply of juice like on this island? Just for
unlimited supply of juice.
Okay, in that case,
battery life.
Okay, this is great. Then I'm going to go with the Boxer and the Entheon. This has been my daily carry for quite a couple of months now, actually, and I love this thing. It's small, compact, light. It's indestructible. I've dropped this thing more times than I care to admit. It just keeps working and working and working. So this is it, definitely.
Okay, and then if you had an endless supply of juice, what juice would that be?
It would be, I'm going to be very, very specific. It's going to be from Vina Vape Co. Good Boy, but the Reserve, and a 6 milligram. And I'll be perfectly happy.
Okay, yeah. It's amazing how you see. I don't think you're the first guy that's actually said that juice. Most of the guys, funny enough, if you had to take a second juice, what would that be?
It would have to be something fruity just to completely offset it. Drip Drops Paradise. Okay. A beautiful pineapple, Tropica kind of vibe going. Very nice. Either that or maybe something in a mango. But then again, the Paradise just does it for me. Really does.
Cool beans. Yeah. Obviously, Johan is a stalwart in the vaping industry. And highly respected in the industry from a perspective of his he says it like he sees it, very similar to me. So yeah, and he's landed himself in trouble a couple of times just like me because he says it as he sees it. So really, between myself and him, there's a hell of a lot of knowledge regarding mechs or anything like that. So if you've got any questions regarding mechs or battery safety or any safety whatsoever, just give us a shout out there and we'll answer those questions for you. Just want to check through some of the questions quickly because everybody was putting lung candy, so I've absolutely totally lost track of if there were any questions. Obviously the beard said how's it, and you've got a lack of beard there going there, Mr. Van Noordwyk. I see your mug every day. Okay, so he's obviously referring to me. He doesn't see your mug every day. Okay, yeah.
I'd get worried if he was seeing mine every day.
Yeah, I would too. That's something else. Yeah, I won't go in there. Took a little bit of social media, but I've probably done this with. No, I can't see any questions there. Uh, Brad Copling says, I remember Johan spent nearly an hour making a 0.01 ohm coil on a noisy cricket in a house setup. Hey, I shat bricks when I took a pull off that thing. Too intense for me.
Yeah, I don't remember the ohms being that low. I think the lowest I ever built on the noisy V1's probably around the 0.4 mark. But yeah, we had a lot of fun in the house when the shop was still here. A lot of experiments, and yeah, it got interesting. There's still scorch marks on one of the curtains in the dining room.
Scorch marks,
from
that's not too good.
Yeah, battery that accidentally vented. No fault from the user side. It was just a freak accident. But yeah, these things happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know if you want to type in your Instagram handles and that down WhatsApp so guys can follow you if they don't really know where you are. Just type it in the chat there. The guys can go and follow you on Instagram, Facebook, and whatever the scenario may be. I'll post a Facebook link. You can't post a Facebook link, unfortunately, on your side, but I will post that on my side. Just give me 2 seconds. Lung Candy. Yeah, I'll go and, you know, as I've said a lot of times, a lot of people have questioned why I have competing vendors or juice makers or whatever in my show, and I've always tried to reiterate the fact is that, you know, the show is not about vape, the show is about vaping, and so there's Lung Candy's Facebook page if you want to give them follow there. And the thing is, you know, you might be in Joburg and need some help, and then you now know who you are and his and the other guys that have had on the show, juice makers and stuff like that. It just makes life a little bit easier, and I tend to only have the people on the show that have similar mindset as me about getting people of stinkies and actually, you know, I don't even know what the right words to use are. I've got the right mentality, and it's not only about the money. So that's the reason why I have the various people on the show. Just a quick question, Johan. Where do you see vaping going for 2018? What's your opinion on the way it's going to go? Obviously, last year, or in the early years of last year, I was predicting this squonking craze coming, and it came at full force. And I've had a lot of guys say, you know, maybe mouth to lung on the show. What's your opinion on it, bud?
So I'm going to answer that in sort of 2 parts, sort of what I'd like to see and what I think will happen. So I'm going to start with what I'd like to see is more simplicity. We were chatting just before the show about the SX boards that are extremely tricky, not tricky, but it's just a pain in the ass to sometimes do the simplest things on it. So take temp control out of it. Not a lot of guys are using it.
I have to say, my opinion on temp control is it doesn't work.
It's a gimmick. It's a marketing
device that works properly in temp control.
Yeah, to me, it has been for the longest time just a marketing gimmick. It's just one more feature to add to that beautiful list of things the mod can do, and it just doesn't work. Yeah. So do away with that. Stick to good old-fashioned wattage. It's what everybody knows. It's what everybody's gotten used to. Simplify it. That would be really, really good. Same with Build-X tanks, all of these things. We're seeing a lot of parallel movement at the moment. There's very little in terms of innovation for me. I think on the squonking side, the guys are doing a lot more. Even though it's kind of an old technology, it's been revived really well, and that's doing really, really cool things. The devices are really nice. Maybe some more single battery squonkers would be great. I think we're fairly limited in that market still. Let's see what else. Let's get on to what I think where it's going. Pod systems are fairly, I think they're here to stay for the year still. At least for the next 6 months, pod systems will still be hot. I'd like to see some proper rebuildable and refillable pod systems. That could be pretty cool. So yeah, that kind of covers the mouth to lung side as well. I don't think mouth to lung tanks are coming back in such a big way. But then again, who knows? This year's open, and if it's up to this industry, we'll have something new every day.
Yeah, it's actually quite scary how fast technology has, and that full swing back to this year with the squonking and you know that type of stuff. Just a question, which I maybe you can answer, from Ryan Governor says, probably a silly question here, but I've always wondered, what do people mean when they say a mod is a hard hitter, both regarding mechs and regulated mods? Is it just the power output or what?
I think from the regulated side, you can look at something like the Vupus that have an extremely fast firing time. That basically, from the regulated side, just how quickly and how efficiently it can power that coil up and get the vape going. On the mech side, a hard hitter would be one with the least amount of voltage drop. So between your battery and your coils, the sort of the shortest distance to get power into those coils would obviously cause it to fire a lot harder, just deliver the power a lot more efficiently. And I think it's more that efficiency that determines the hard hitter status of a mod.
Yeah. Also, to carry on there, you find that your hybrid mix, where your RDA connects straight onto the positive end of your battery, are slightly harder hitting than ones that have a 510 pin, because it's got to travel through some other metal before it actually gets to your 510. Also, there's obviously different conductivity of materials. Silver being, as far as I know, is the most conductive, eh? Yeah, I think silver's the most conductive. So you see a lot of the high-end squonkers and that have silver contacts. It's like, for example, the Monarch. The Monarch's original internals were, I think they were copper. I think they were copper. They then changed them out to full silver contacts. And a lot of the mods out there, especially the squonkers, where you can actually buy a full silver set of internals. It's on a conductive scale, and I think silver is the number one. And exactly the same as what Johan was saying is that on your more expensive chipsets, where the guys have spent huge amount of time designing these chipsets, like the DNA, although they're not always the hardest hitting. Like the DNAs, they hit slightly harder purely because of the chip, the quality of the chipset. That's hence why you're paying more for that device, but not always. You know, I still swear by my V-God Asmodus minigun, the limited edition one that was made for the V-God team. That thing still hits harder, at least 10 watts harder than any DNA device I've ever owned in my life.
That is true.
Yeah. Ryan pretty much answered the same question. Anyone tried the Kylan Mini? Apparently finicky with wicking according to vaping with Vic. I can tell you now that I've played with the Kylan Mini. I have actually given one away to somebody. I think it was Ronaldo. One of them guys won it, and it's wicking for dummies. There is not a hassle wicking it. If you use the bow tie method, that method that I've given it the bow tie. I don't know if somebody else did it before, but I did a video on it called the bow tie method. It's absolutely piss easy to wick. Really no issues whatsoever. I never had a dry hit, never had a leak whatsoever on that Kylan Mini. Let's see. Did see you disappear. Yes, Fat Nerd, we are busy working through the website. Unfortunately, when you've got 5,500 items, it's quite hard to go through it all in a very short period of time. We are trying to clean up the website as best as possible, and we do it in batches. We are trying to do that. Never use temp control. Johan, what do you think of all single coil RDA coming out? Do you think this year is a single coil year? I think you've answered that a little bit already, but
yeah, I think so. It comes back to the simplicity side. I'm a huge fan of single coil RTAs, RDAs. It's the simplicity. It's a lot easier for new users getting into the rebuilding market with a single coil. It's less hassle to balance coils. It's easier to wick, easier to set up, and the way they're designed nowadays, the performance is absolutely stellar of them.
Yeah. Obviously, I was talking about the Bravo and the Blitzen, which are designed are dual coil, but we've put single coils in these massive big RTAs, and the single coil, it's also piss easy to put a coil in and wicking, and the things just work. Yeah. There was a question here which we were talking about beforehand, which we wanted to touch on a little bit, and someone's actually brought up something that we could move on. Brad Coupling says 5FM said today vaping mutates your DNA. That's shit hilarious. What's your opinion on all this this stuff, and what do you reckon? What do you advise people who see all this negative media to do when they see the negative media?
Jeez, this is one of the sides of vaping that is just absolutely horrifically shit at the moment, and that is the media having a bias towards the advertisers and people pushing money behind their either social media platforms or sites or anything. I saw this article pop up on Unilad yesterday about vaping. They straight out said vaping causes cancer in their headline, even though in the article it's may cause cancer, and this whole mutation bullshit and all of that. It's just, again, we had this with popcorn lung, we had this with formaldehyde, we had it with I don't even know how many times the media try to portray vaping in a light where it can be harmful. I'm not saying vaping is safe. It's definitely massively harm reducing. That comes from personal experience. And I think every single person that vapes will know, like, your health improves. We had a customer with 46% lung function. She was a heavy smoker. She's been vaping now for about 2 years. Lung function's improved. She's doing a hell of a lot better. All of these things, and she hasn't fallen back into the cigarette trap. So, so let's backtrack to the publishers of these articles and big tobacco sitting behind funding of studies and all of these things. They're losing money because of an industry that actually works. And I think as long as they exist, we'll have a fight from their side to try and disprove the success that vaping has brought so many people with quitting smoking.
And your opinions of Twisp selling out?
I don't think so. I think Twisp has done a tremendous amount of good for this industry. I think a lot of our shops wouldn't even exist if Twisp didn't exist to begin with. They have probably converted more people to the alternative than most other shops have. Might get crucified for this one, but they've done a hell of a lot of good for just the public as a whole.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% agree with you. But them selling out now to BAT, being bought out by British Tobacco.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's a difficult one because you've got Philip Morris that's trying to enter into this with their versions, and them actually getting together with the FDA and saying to the FDA, listen, we shouldn't be banning vaping. It's not a bad thing. All of these things. So Twisp selling out to BAT, I wouldn't really call them a sellout as long as the product's still accessible and we still actually have a way of people being able to vape and not have to smoke cigarettes.
Okay. It just looks like your video is gone there.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at that now. I saw myself freezing on screen.
While you're doing that, let me just check some questions here.
My audio is still going.
Yeah, audio is still going, fine. Do you want me to switch it down and dial you back?
Let me just check if I can find... Yeah, I've definitely frozen on this side. Let me just disable and re-enable my video.
Okay. There you are.
Yeah, I'm back.
Back again. Back again. It's amazing. The last couple of weeks, I've had technical issues. That's one thing that fucking irritates the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
Computers, they are such a godsend, but they're such a fucking pain in the ass. Yeah, it's such a pain in the ass. Okay, there was something else there. There's milk juice in the house. How's it, guys? How's it, guys? How's it? Hey, Ohms Raw, Daniel, welcome, dude. I did see you earlier, but yeah, I'll just carry on there. Seeing if there's any questions. Yeah, getting back to this whole big pharmacy and tobacco. You know, the thing is, which I think, and Johan would agree with me here, is don't perpetuate the cycle. Things to do and things not to do. Don't, yeah, I can blow big clouds. Don't go blow big clouds in environments where you're going to stand out. You know, I'm guilty myself, and I've admitted it. I've blown a cloud over a twist stand just for shits and giggles, you know, and I was wrong in doing that. Okay, but although you're not a smoker, treat yourself as a smoker. If you want to vape in a movie house, take a small little discreet device like a Q or a little mouth to lung type of device where you're not going to blow these huge massive billows of what's name. If you see a negative piece of literature on Facebook or other social media, don't share it, because that's what they're wanting you to do. They're wanting you to share it, because the more shares they get, they'll just carry on doing that. So don't fall into the trap of, oh, look what these guys are saying, and sharing it to this group and sharing it to that group. Just ignore it. Absolutely ignore it. That's what they want you to do. They want you to build up the hype behind it, because then it makes everybody scared. And if you've got family members who've read this crap and actually believe it, go and download the movie. It's free to download. Go download the movie A Billion Lives. Okay. You can get it anywhere now. I think it's actually available on most places as actually a paid download now. I think it is. I stand to be corrected. And get them to watch that video, because that'll, even though it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be at the end of the day, it's still a good way to explain to somebody who's got this negative idea of vaping, that vaping's worse for you. It's not. Well, let them watch that video. So don't perpetuate the cycle. Treat yourself as a smoker. Abide by smoking legislation. Don't go and fucking blow a cloud in spur. You know, it's not something that you should do, because the more attention we attract to us, the harder they're going to come at us. So yeah, just if you wouldn't mind doing that, guys. Jelly should be going out next week. Thanks for I got a bottle of jellies today. I haven't tasted it yet, but I got a bottle of jellies today for the shop. Yeah, and Andre says, I love how people that never smoked say that vaping and smoking is the same thing. Not only smokers can understand how much better vaping is. Yeah, it's unfortunately one of those things, uneducated people, and that's what we really all should be doing. Instead of blowing these massive clouds over people and twist stands like I've done, you know, take the time and effort to actually educate people. Your friends, your family, or whatever, and you can do that through social media these days. There's so many things going on, proper articles, you know, unbiased articles that you can read. There's a billion lives that you can watch. Try and do that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's just, if you read through the comments on that Unilad article, vapors are portrayed as douchebags by the majority of people, and that's purely because people, they basically can't keep it in their pants when they have a vape in their hands. They have to blow the biggest clouds and just be a public nuisance. So yeah, just respect people. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think if you're in an environment that you're at home, or you're in a place where it's okay to vape, because there's some places that are totally okay with you vaping, then it's a different story.
Oh, yeah.
But built up freaking shopping centers and stuff like that, it's a no-no. It's an absolute no-no. Yeah. What I do disagree with, though, is that, I saw a thing posted on Facebook today, or it might have been a couple of days ago, where there was a commented where a shop owner or a restaurant owner had banned vapors from actually vaping in the smoking section. In my opinion, and I might be stepping out of line, that's when you throw your toys out the cot, because if you treat one, you treat them both the same. You shouldn't allow smokers in there neither. You know what I mean? There should be no smoking or no vaping. It's not one or the other. It's either none or you allow it. You know what I mean? That's the one thing I do. And if I was in that situation, I would throw up an absolute hissy fit, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Also find it quite interesting how you'd be vaping close to a smoker and suddenly they'll start coughing, or putting on that little fake cough and said, "Oh, please just blow that away from me. It's worse than cigarettes." And again, that's just going to come down to education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a huge percentage of people who still smoke know that they shouldn't be smoking, so they'll find every reason to actually to defend their smoking. What device? Adam says, what device would you recommend to replace a cigarette? A pod system like an Aspire Gusto or a tank like a Berserker?
Yeah, those work really well. Massive success story with my mom. She tried various vaping devices, and the only one that worked for her so far was the Q from Twisp. She is in her mid to late 60s, cigarette smoker for most of her life, and the Q has been the one that has been the closest to an actual cigarette as you can get. She started on the little tobacco pods, and she actually now prefers the Rebel. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, no, I have to say that we tried a lot of pod systems before even Twisp had launched their Q, and just none of them actually did it for us. None of them. You know, we were Hugo at Pro is probably, if you look at his drawer at the shop, there's probably 15, 20 pod systems in his drawer that is just tossed in there. And the Q, I have to say, although there's been issues with the some of the pods cracking under immense heat, like it left in the car and stuff like that, but in general, absolutely epic device to get people. I use a Q. Like if I'm going out to the mall or whatever, I take a Q with me. I don't take anything else. I take a Q and I put it in my pocket because it gives you that bluish color smoke, not that white smoke. It gives you that bluish color smoke, and you can barely see it. You can really barely see it when you're vaping. Let's see what else. Craig, your mic's soft. Let me just turn it up a little bit then. I can't turn it up too much. It's probably as loud as I can turn it up, guys. I don't want to, because otherwise I could get a bit of feedback. Brad asks, keen to hear if anyone has tried those QoS devices from Philip Morris. Has seen them in Greenstone for like 1.6k. Yo, that's expensive. That's it is. I actually haven't physically seen one myself. That's that one that actually heats up the tobacco. It's proper tobacco, but it actually heats the tobacco up, but doesn't ignite it.
Yeah, one of my tattoo artists used one for a bit. They were friends with one of the reps, and she sort of trialed it out before they hit the market. It's interesting. It has got a couple of drawbacks. You've got X amount of puffs that you have to take within a certain time period, I think, and apparently it tastes like an ashtray, but then again, cigarettes do as well. So she wasn't successful with it. She went back to cigarettes purely because that the nanny mode from that, like also you can't do. I used to chase 2 cigarettes in a row. With that, you can't. So you basically, like Nathan said there, it's like smoking half of a wet cigarette. That's exactly what you can call it. It's just not satisfying.
Obviously, it wouldn't be satisfying from a taste perspective neither, because I couldn't think of nothing worse than freaking trying to vape on wet tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I'm assuming that thing would be filthy inside because of all the oils and stuff from the tobacco. Yeah,
that's...
Yeah, I think that the scenario is that all these guys are going to come up with these fandangled devices and they'll come to market and people will buy them, waste their money, and then they'll go back to vaping or they'll go back to cigarettes, or they'll move to vaping or go back to cigarettes. Money-making scheme. Lee Barnes, all the way from the UK, Mr. Barnes, dropped you the NHS page and a link to the health department suggested video from out this side, big guy. Where did you drop the link? Put drop me a link on Facebook with it, so I can just copy it off Facebook, because you won't be able to drop it in here, but unfortunately. Yeah, Lee is actually a mate of mine. He's an online gaming friend of mine, and he's recently moved to the UK for work. And although they're quite strict there with bottle sizes and stuff like that, you know, the NHS is all behind vaping. I think at one stage, I don't know, I stand to be corrected, but I don't know if they're still doing it. But they were actually, you could get your e-cig, and they were pen style devices on your medical aid, which
was
I looked
brilliant
at it,
initiative.
You've got America, which is money driven, hungry, you know, fuck the humanity, and then you've got the UK, where the home of modern medicine comes from. So yeah, which one am I going to believe? The people where modern medicine was originated from, or people that we know that are just money hungry, you know? There's Lee just dropped it, so I'm just going to drop it in here. Just hold on. Just want to open it up quickly. There's a nice link. Thanks, Lee. I'm going to just drop it in here. So there's a nice little link to something from the NHS, smoke-free help, and it can give you a whole lot of advice and stuff like that, or maybe give that article, give that to read to somebody who doesn't understand what vaping is. Vape, what's a good one? Seen that there. Yeah, Ruan, as far as I know, they are busy working on different flavors for the Q. They are busy working on that. As far as I know, there's 3 more flavors that they're busy working on that. So I'm sure that they'll drop those in the not too distant future. Artist, the flavor on the Q, you can't compare it to vaping on a RDA or an RTA of in vaping terms, but it's got some good flavor, I have to say. I don't like the tobacco, but the Red Bull and the mint one I actually don't mind. I don't mind that at all. Have you tried the Q, Johan?
I've got one.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's a brilliant little carry if I'm in a shopping center or something like that, where you could have a nice little stealth puff on it, still get your fix. You're not bothering anyone. If you hold it in long enough, there's hardly anything that you exhale. It's a good device. I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah, no, epic device, epic device. And I agree with you actually. What you say is that a lot of people are, you know, originally when we got there, because you know, Twist has been around for, they are the oldest, I think in South Africa, or maybe not necessarily the oldest vaping shop, but or vaping related or e-cig related business. But the amount of people that they've converted, you know, is they've done a massive favor to South Africa for going as large as they actually did do. Just checking some questions. In terms of the leaky pods, the last conversation I had with our rep was they've reworked the pods. They're also changing the color of the pod, so it's more see-through, so you can actually see how much liquid you've got left in your pod. And they've definitely rectified that leaky situation. Yeah, I think the scenario is a lot of those leakies are actually caused by heat. They leave them in cars and stuff like that. You know, VG does expand with heat, which a lot of people do know. It actually does expand slightly with heat, and if that thing's under pressure for whatever reason, it's going to find the weakest point quite easily. Between thinning out and expanding, it's a recipe for leaking. Yeah. Just checking any questions, other questions. Yeah, so those pods, I would probably do a pod a day, quite easily on a Q if it was the only device that I was working. Obviously, I stand to be correct. They're 20 milligram or 24 milligram. It's one of the two. I think you know what they are, Johan? Are they 20 or 24 milligram? They will be oh shit, you just got me off guard there. I think it's a 24. Yeah, a 24 milligram for me. The tank would, one of those pods would probably last a day. So yeah, is it? I don't know. I don't even know what the price of cigarettes cost these days, or legitimate cigarettes. I don't even know what they cost. Yeah, I've got it. 45 rand a pack. Yeah, so it's pretty. Look, there's no way that smoking is cheaper Then vaping. If you're making your own juices and you've got a mechanical mod that doesn't ever break, yeah, it's definitely cheaper. Or for people like me who are smoking 9 cigars a day, it's definitely cheaper than smoking. But yeah, but where the cost factor does come in is you're not getting sick as often. You're not. If you're self-employed, those are days that you're off work.
Ooh, yeah.
You are not abusing your medical aid now because you're getting flu 4 or 5 times a year, and you're getting bronchitis, and you're having to go for chest X-rays. So yes, it might not be cheaper from a smoking perspective, but from a health perspective, it's going to be a massive difference from a health perspective, and the cost factors that are associated with cardiac, cancer, those type of things, which obviously, not saying are eliminated, but they are greatly reduced. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's obviously the biggest one where smoking has been proven to cause various cancers and things, and that the cost for those treatments and all of that, and the suffering and everything people go through, emphysema, all of these smoking related, cardiovascular as well as lung problems. It's just not, it's horrific.
Yeah, I went today. I had a health assessment today because it's one thing that you've got to do with one of the rewards programs that I'm on with for my medical aid and that. So I went and did this health assessment, and one of the things was that you had to do a lung function test. It was just a simple blow through a tube lung function test.
Yeah.
Now, I still remember when I was a smoker, before the doctor said, listen, if you don't quit now, you're going to die. I couldn't move that to 1. Okay, so now it goes down from 0 to 10. I couldn't move it to 1. I blew it to 7 today. So, yes, I don't have my full lung capacity back, but I can walk up flights of steps. I can play a bit of sport. Like obviously, I'm also dieting at the moment, so I'm losing weight, so I can go and do all those type of things. But I couldn't blow 1, and it's you try and do that as a smoker, and it's quite hectic. Let's check some more questions here. Brad, have you got Aegis mods?
Same price as you guys at the moment.
Yeah, we don't have any stock. So if you're looking for an Aegis mod, go and look on Lung Candy's website. Yeah, you'll have them where we don't have them anymore. 20 milligram. Okay, it's 20 milligram, not 24 milligram. Those pods.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Originally, they were actually supposed to be 18 milligram.
Mm.
Yeah, so yeah, that's weird. The Gusto pods are 24 milligram. Those Gusto pods from Element, those are also a really good way to quit. They are Nick salts. Just I want to get onto that topic here because there's been a little bit of press about it. You get regular nicotine, obviously, which is derived from a tobacco plant, and it's processed and whatever, which you get in your juice. There's another one called Nick salts, okay, and then you get obviously synthetic nicotine. There is still they've done the whole testing on normal nicotine, okay, derived from a tobacco plant, but on the nicotine salts, we've had a couple of customers ask, can we please get nicotine salts in our juices? Just from our side, the air is still up there whether that nicotine salts is okay for you in sub-ohm devices. Mouth to lung devices, it seems to be okay, but in sub-ohm devices, evidently it just gets too hot. So yeah, we won't stock any sub-ohm juices that until there's been more testing done on Nick salt juices. So just so that you know that for future reference. Anything you want to bring up, Johan, while I'm reading questions? Any topics you want to bring up?
Yeah, interesting comment from Brandon there. The idea of the smell, ashing, finding a lighter, the smell, the way people that smoke smell, areas that you get into or walking past the smoking section, that it's a very specific, nauseating smell. Like, to you guys in the chat as well at the moment, how many of you have tried a cigarette and all the time that you've stopped smoking and just vaped exclusively, and what was your experience with that?
I must say, I was one of those ones who went cold turkey. I've never picked up another cigarette or cigar ever. I know there are a couple of guys who've, and maybe through financial reasons or whatever, their mods got broken or lost, that have gone back to smoking, and then come back once they've been able to afford to get a new mod or something like that. That's the one thing I actually do have a problem with, is when people do both. You know, it sounds funny, but you know, why do both? Why have two bad habits? Because vaping is also a bad habit, in my opinion. Rather don't do it at all, but it's a means to an end. And you know, from those addictive personalities, and I've got a majorly addictive personality. Mine's not the nicotine that I crave. Mine's the habit of inhaling, exhaling, and having something in my hand. And I've proven that because I can vape on 0 milligram, not a question. But for people who smoke and vape, just doesn't. I can't seem to fathom why you would do that. That's me. I suppose everybody's got their own reasons for doing it.
Yeah, I would imagine that to be sort of a 50% psychological and 50% physical. It's been proven that due to the extra chemicals they add into the tobacco for cigarettes to enhance the effectiveness of nicotine, it basically overstimulates dopamine and serotonin release in the same way that an antidepressant like Xanax or Prozac or anything like that would do. So you're technically addicted to an antidepressant rather than just nicotine, which hasn't got more of an addictive sort of composition compared to something like caffeine, for example. So I think it may be, if the guys do keep maybe 2, 3, 4 cigarettes a day, they still keep overstimulating those receptors and the release of dopamine and serotonin. So it's that 50% physical addiction. And then on the other hand, it's the psychological addiction. It's that crutch. As you start associating good times and coping mechanisms, all of these things you start associating with having a cigarette, where maybe having a mod with a tank or a pod or something in your hand, it just doesn't give you that same sort of link mentally. And I think maybe that's where something like the Q comes in, where you can actually hold it like a cigarette, draw it like a cigarette. It feels very similar, and I'd like to think that that's what made it so successful for my mom to give up.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with you there. 100% agree with you there. Yeah. I think it's actually more psychological than anything else. You know, I wouldn't go 50-50. I would probably say 70-30 psychological, based on the people that I've had to deal with in the shop. You know, on trying to quit smoking and stuff like that. That once you've been off for a couple of months, you know, it's I can understand people financially or whatever, they lose their mod and whatever, and they need that crutch. But to go back to smoking, I don't think I could ever do that. You know, even if it was a matter of I didn't have vaping gear, and let's say government said you're not allowed to vape at all, and you weren't allowed to, you had monitors in your house, you know, whatever. I just wouldn't. I don't think I could ever pick up a cigarette again. And today at that, doing that health assessment, there was one of the staff members there that had gone outside for a cigarette, and he came and he walked right past me, and oh my God, he stank to high heaven. And I think every time that actually happens, and my wife's with me, you know, because my wife's been obviously with me through my heaviest smoking, and obviously was my crutch to help getting off the cigarettes as well. I always turn around to her and say, thank fuck I stopped, you know. And I do not know how you put up with me as a smoker, because that smell is absolutely disgusting. Funny enough, I don't mind someone smoking a cigarette around me, but it's that stale after smell that just I actually want to cringe. That's that's almost worse than smelling a lit cigarette. For me it's worse. It's 10 times worse than actually smelling the smoke. That's dead friggin' it's horrible. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what, you know, about vaping. I would never have met Johan if I hadn't started vaping. I would never have met half the people that I'm acquainted to without vaping. But what you need to do, okay, and I've always said this numerous occasions, is that, you know, talk to as many people, try to get as many people off cigarettes as possible. You know, this is a life-changing thing. You know, it will save lives. There's no questions asked about it. And if you've got, you're a lucky person that you do have excess cash and you have got a couple of mods, piff the stuff, guys. Don't let the old stuff sit and draw, get dust in the cupboard. You know, pass it forward. You know, that's what PIF stands for. If you don't know, pass it forward. You know, help a guy who's trying to quit smoking. Obviously, you get those guys who just trying to take a ride. You obviously got to make that judgment call. But PIF as much as you possibly can. The more people we can get off smoking, the better. Just getting back to remember tonight for the guys that have joined, you've got to use the word lung candy. So we're going to see lung candy go all wide, one word, go wild. Okay. I've got some Mr. Fluff, which is from Johan. Okay. I've got a Nismotis shirt, and then I've got a Wetofo cap to give away. I'm going to be doing that live draw shortly. Obviously, just look out. I have got some more little videos coming up, not live videos, off camera videos that I'm going to be doing on some devices that I've got that I've been testing. Funny enough, also I've received a lot of devices lately for testing that are absolutely atrocious. That I've actually phoned the guys and say you can from China, you can actually come and collect your device. I can't do a review on it. Yeah, disgusting stuff, cheap, nasty things. Yeah. Yeah. What else was I gonna say now? What else was I gonna say?
See, the vaping brew, you've converted 4 smokers in the last 4 months, recommending the queue. And that also ties into what you said about paying it forward. If you have a friend that smokes with a birthday coming up, the queue is $400, includes 3 pods. You could be buying the guy a bottle of whiskey for $400, or you could get him off cigarettes for $400. And nowadays, that's not a massive amount of money. I think that's sort of what people tend to spend on birthday gifts. Even if you have to go in with 2 or 3 mates to make it happen, $100 each chip in and help a guy out. It's probably the best gift you'll ever give him. True. You'll potentially give him his life back.
Yeah, some people do take offense to that, but they will take the prize, they will take the gift, and they will try it out, and then they'll actually see that, hey, this isn't actually that bad, and you never know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never know. It's not money wasted. Ronaldo is my co-worker, smokes around me, but like you say, that after smoke smell is very bad. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I've been trying for many years to get my mother-in-law off smoking. I've lent her devices. I have given her as many things as I possibly can. She never has to worry about juice. My sister-in-law vapes, so she changes her coils. But for the life of me, I cannot get her off the cigarettes. No matter what I've tried. She's tried the Q, doesn't work. I had a test at Gusto, which I dropped off with her, didn't work for her. I've given her a Kanga box, old Kanga box thing that doesn't work. Nothing can get her off the smokes. But yet when we go to family functions, she brings out with the device that she's got, and then you'll see her duck around the corner to go have a smoke. But yeah, it's I think for those people, it's a massive crutch. Yeah. Did you guys see the crap? Yeah, we've spoken about that, Julian. I think a lot of guys actually answered that. Put a note on that that thing that they put on Facebook and stuff like that. Nuts, beard. Yeah, okay. Getting to that time of the show, then I'm going to do the lucky draw. Just obviously you've all used the word lung candy, those who haven't already. I see that the beginning of the year is slowing with the guys watching, but it's starting to increase again. We are going to be, I've got a couple of nice mods that I'm going to be giving away shortly in the next probably month or so, which mods that I've been testing, which I promised that anything that I got to test that was worthwhile giving away, I would give away. So I will be doing little reviews on them in the next coming week, and then we'll be giving that stuff away. Obviously it is being used and it's only been used by me, but it's a free mod, so yeah, we'll look out for that type of stuff. So let's do this lucky draw. I'm just going to pop, you're going to just disappear off the screen for a few seconds there, Mr. Van Noordwyk, doing the lucky draw. Don't go scratch your balls because you'll still be able to be seen.
No, I'll pull out the Dr. Pepper again.
Don't do that, bro. You know I'm dieting, bro. Okay, so as you can see on your screen now, you'll see that slider bars are almost at the end. That those slider bars, that basically means the more you watch, the more frequently you watch, the more luck you've got on winning it. The keyword is obviously lung candy. I click the button 3 times and the person on the 3rd time is the winner. I only give away 1 prize a night. Yeah, so you just got to get hold of me on Facebook, and then I'll get that thing sent out to you. If you're Durban, you can come and collect it. So I'm going to do the lucky draw now. We have got how many people watching? We have got 39 people watching, and there were 56 users that have used the word. So 56 people was the highest amount of people watching tonight. So that's lucky. Okay, so I'm going to roll it once. I'm going to roll it twice. And good luck, everybody. This is the 3rd person, and it is Darian Watson. Please get hold of me on our social media page, the survey page, and I'll organize for that prize to get out to you. Thanks for watching there. Yeah, Mr. Van Noordwyk, thank you very much for being on the show. Greatly appreciate your time and helping us educate the people, and obviously just having a bit of a jibber jabber. Yeah, anything else you want to say before I close off, bud?
Not much. Just guys, I think this is going to be an awesome year for everybody. But yeah, keep it cool and be responsible with the devices that you're using, battery safety, all of that kind of stuff. Most of us already we kind of on top of it, and the only stupid question is the question that you're not asking. So if you're unsure about anything, ask your local shop or drop us a mail. Myself, Big Eye, we're always willing and able to help where we can. And yeah, I think guys, just have a great year ahead. It's going to be good.
Cool beans. Thanks, Johan. Thanks, guys. Look out for the videos coming, and then the next feed will be next week Wednesday. I don't know who's going to be on that show yet, but yeah, thanks again, Johan. Cheers. Bye.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.